Hi everyone, my name is Gracie Sands and I will be doing a narrated PowerPoint on my final project for JUS515 with Professor Susan Whitford. This presentation will explore the correlation between social media usage and the effects on mental health. This study investigates the psychological and behavioral effects of social media usage among young adults. Social media has become an integral part of our daily lives with billions of users worldwide. For myself, I know I use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok daily. I know many of us can say the same as well. There is a growing concern about these platforms and the impact that it can have on our mental health. The purpose of this study is to understand if there's a correlation between the two. I will provide a summary of prior research along with some personal experience, the key questions that guided this research, the methods used, my results, and the conclusions I came to. For prior research, studies have shown that an increased social media use is associated with higher levels of anxiety and depression. When you are stuck to your phone, you kind of lose track of your reality. It can lead to increased feelings of anxiety, depression, feelings of isolation, and it's particularly among young adults. Our generation has significantly impacted what we do, right? So our lives are centered practically around our phones. It is consistently linked to poor mental health across the board on almost every research article I came across. In some shape or form, it negatively impacts our mental health. In contrasting research, the few articles I did find, social media can provide individuals with feelings of self-belonging, self-identity, maintaining connections. So it does promote some positive impact. But the negative impact that it has on us is far greater and more damaging, to say the least. It promotes social interaction and support, but does that outweigh the negatives? My key questions and purpose of the study. I tried looking at, does the number of hours spent on social media daily correlate with the reported levels of anxiety or depression? I also looked at if there was a correlation between social media usage and poor mental health. I had my participants use a self-reported questionnaire, so truly what they felt and if they felt that there was an impact. And I try to specifically do the age range of 23 to 30. I had these individuals rate their own mental health. Pretty broad question, right? But I feel like it really makes you think of how you are doing. And then also, does the rating of an individual's well-being change based on the platform they use, right? So does Instagram promote supportive feelings while TikTok makes you feel more lonely? The purpose of this study was to examine the relationship between social media usage and how one would rate their own mental health. I really wanted to determine if social media has more of a negative effect, although studies have shown that there is a positive effect. I know personally that I have felt both. I have felt negative effects to social media, but I've also realized that there are positives. A question I also asked individuals was if they remembered a time where they didn't have social media and how they felt their mental health was then. And later on in this PowerPoint, you'll see a little bit more of that question. For my report, I did a question survey using Microsoft Forms. It included the option for participants to complete a Likert scale or a self-reported questionnaire. I asked demographic questions, and it was completely anonymous, and participants were also given consent forms to fill out prior. Some of my survey questions looked a little similar to these. Again, asking about how many hours per day, social media platforms, and if they remember a time where they weren't on social media, and if yes, how was their mental health then? And I think that kind of goes along with the age demographic, right? So if you were to ask a child right now if they wouldn't. They wouldn't remember a time. But the ages between 20 to 30, some of us were here when social media was just becoming big, just becoming very important in our lives. And some of us saw both of it. So I made sure to highlight that. For perception, I really focused on their beliefs, how they felt, how it was affecting them. And then just in their own perspective, like I said, a broad question of how would you rate your mental health? And have you ever experienced these feelings of anxiety related to the social media usage? The sample of consent, I asked my participants to do this survey along with sending them the consent form. One of the questions that were on my consent form consisted of, like, if they decided to participate, they will be joining a study involving research regarding the effects of social media on mental health. That you'll be asked to fill out a questionnaire regarding your opinion on your own mental health, if it is poor or not due to social media. I know mental health can be a pretty touchy subject for some people, so I made sure to include on my consent form that there is a risk that it might bring up feelings, might make you feel anxious, might make you kind of get some anxiety-like symptoms, the nerves, the heart rate, all of those kinds of things, and at any point that they can drop out of the survey. So let's jump into some results. So from question 11, have you ever experienced feelings of anxiety or depression related to your social media usage? This was overwhelming, right? 93% of my participants said yes. This highlighted such overwhelming data. Almost every participant has experienced feelings of anxiety and depression related to their social media usage. And I won't go into the details of what anxiety and depression can look like, but it can look very different for everyone. Prolonged screen time can contribute to feelings of isolation, low self-esteem, constant social comparison, especially when users passively scroll through content, right? So people kind of say that disassociating on your phone, it's not good for you. And many studies can back that data up. The in your own perspective question, right? So many participants said average, about 43%. This is one of those strange ones, right? So it's 21% said poor, 43% average, and 36% good, but nobody said very good. And that just shows a whole different can of worms to unload, is that we really need to take care of ourselves, our well-being, and really focus on our health. So again, going back to the, can you remember a time you were not on social media? 79% said yes. And Majority of the participants remember a time where they were not on social media. To follow that question, participants were asked how they felt their mental health was then. The majority stated that their mental health was in a much better spot in comparison to how their mental health is now. The majority of the participants rated that their mental health was good or very good then, and now they rate it average poor. So that says a lot on the impact that social media can have. And this graph here goes back to the hours you spend, which isn't shocking because I myself spend quite some time on social media per day, but 43% said 5+ hours a day. That's wild. That is very crazy to think about. This indicates that many individuals spend most of their day on a digital platform. And, this can lead to, physical medical issues, right? We're not getting the exercise we need because we're sitting. This can lead to poor academic performance. It can interfere with real life social interactions. And overall, it disrupts our routine, which is very scary. And in conclusion, I did hypothesize that the data would show a correlation between social media usage and an individual's perception of their mental health being poor. And I believe that data aligns with my hypothesis and follows my empirical questions. I expected the results I received. I found that these trends throughout the research they correlated and they aligned with the vast majority of already established research. So going through this, I wasn't too shocked by what I saw. It was pretty expected. And at the end of the day, I think policies and I think educators need to start with children young on safe and healthy screen time. I think that's a big thing. We need to incorporate taking breaks, monitoring our usage, and a lot of people call it like taking the time you need to heal. And I think majority of us could use that in our life, taking some time from social media and really connecting with the real world. Thank you for listening to my presentation.